My name is Liza Hylton. I'm the speech language pathologist for Perry County Schools. I work at West Perry Elementary School and Buckhorn Schools. And my project today is a sensory area for students with special needs. Why a sensory area, do you ask? Well, change is difficult for almost everyone, and we handle change best if we are sort of expecting it or it occurs within the context of a predictable routine. For example, this weekend, the time will change and we will go back an hour. And as adults, we know that, so we can sort of prepare and get ready for that. But students with special needs, they have trouble adjusting to some of those things. Students with special needs, a predictable routine allows them to feel safe and in control, and it allows them to better deal and handle with different changes in their life. Of course, lots of changes cannot be avoided, and that's why we try to offer students with special needs a predictable routine as a foundation. That way, when a speed bump comes up or a roadblock occurs, that's what we call it at school, a speed bump or a roadblock, then we are better equipped to handle those things. Students get overstimulated. Overstimulation, emotional regulation, and attention is our problem of practice in implementing our learning environment. We have students with special needs who have difficulty paying attention. They become overstimulated with things in their environment, whether it be noises, sounds, lighting, just lots of environmental factors. We also have students that have difficulty expressing themselves and regulating their emotions. And all of these things, all of these factors cause them to be overwhelmed in class and unable to learn. So, as we know, overstimulated students are not engaged. They're not learning what's being taught. They often engage in avoidance behaviors. Some will do self-harm, hitting themselves, biting. Others will just, when they're overstimulated, they will withdraw from peers. They'll withdraw from activities. They'll try to escape just to get out of doing what is necessary and doing their tasks that are expected at hand. A lot of these special needs students require frequent breaks where they can move around and they can have some sensory experiences. They can experience some calming activities, engage in some sensory activities and some mindful activities to help them out. I would like to create a sensory area located in a common space. And in that sensory area, we'll provide lots of tactile, visual, auditory input, just different things for the students to use as they need. This area would provide students a sensory space with activities to help them organize themselves, calm themselves, become more mindful of their emotions, and just assist with coping and just traumatic situations. Sometimes they just need that little bit of escape, that little bit of sensory input. And the students will be able to interact with all or just part of the sensory area. You know, it'll be available. They can interact with their favorite parts. What inspired me to want to create this sensory area, I'll tell you. Some really wonderful educators and my friend, the occupational therapist at our sister school, East Perry Elementary School, they wrote a grant and received funding from KVEC a few years ago, and they created an entire sensory walk. It goes around, it's within the special needs suite at their school. So it's pretty cool. Let me show you. This is my inspiration. This is one of their small hallways. Just look at all that sensory input. The kids can touch the noodles. That's different. The different colors have different textures on the wall. Down here in this area, it's one of those squishy I don't know, just a really neat sensory, squishy, kind of like an oil and water sort of thing that they can play with. Here's another part. It has this really cool bubble aquarium that kids can look at and use. There's just different textures on the wall, as you can see. There's some gears and like a little Plinko sort of thing. And this is an octopus that the OT cut out and attached to the wall and put different sensory, different textures and tactile things on it. What resources and personnel do we need to implement the area? We'll purchase some sensory materials that we can place on the wall for student interaction. We would need a staff member to observe, provide direction, show them how to interact and use the wall. The sensory area can be used during transition when a student needs a break, or we see that they're getting really overstimulated and a problematic behavior might start to begin before it escalates. Maybe we can take them out and let them use the sensory area for calming. Where am I going to do this? Okay, this is a picture at West Perry Elementary. This is one of the hallways here, and I took a picture of the outside so you can sort of get an idea of where I'm going to put it. This is the hallway view, and this is the actual vestibule that I would like to just turn into an entire sensory area. We don't have the luxury of a full hallway like they did at our sister school, but in this entire little area, we would like to use, create sensory materials in a sensory area. The door on the left goes into the FMD suite, and the door on the right goes to our alternative school. So we're looking at some students who could really benefit from using these sensory activities and sensory materials. What question will guide our study? I want to look at, will a sensory break between learning activities or during transitions allow students to regulate their behavior? What outcomes will prove that our innovation was a success? Hopefully, there will be a decrease in the amount of time dealing with inappropriate behavior. How will we measure those outcomes? For our FMD students or our students in special needs classroom, we already use a behavior log. So we will observe and analyze behavior logs that are already in place. We'll observe the students, analyze behavior logs, of course, attain some student feedback, and we'll watch for preferred sensory activities. Our kids with PECs, I will create some cards showing different activities so that they can request, they can use a card or use their AAC device to request that they, or let us know that they need to go outside in the sensory area to help out. So by using PECs and just behavior, that's what we'll do to measure our outcomes. Now, our budget, we took the $1,000, we broke it down. We hope to get an optic curtain light, one of those really neat bubble aquariums. We'll need some sensory tape, some silly shapes and circles, the touch and change boards. That's what I was trying to say, the ones that look like the oil and water that's sort of mixed up. A sensory gel maze, squishy handprints, sensory discs, gears, fiber noodles, and of course we'll need some hardware and some attachments to attach some of the things to the wall. And I just want to thank KVEC for the opportunity to create the sensory area for our students, and hopefully I'll be able to show you a before and after shot or a before and after picture, and some of the students using the sensory area in the spring.